Hi, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show in its 25th year, 24th or 25th year here on Voice America Media. I've been on many different networks in my 4 decades of doing this work, but I've stayed with Voice America the longest and still do other programs, but really believe in what Voice America stands for, Voice America Media. So that is the name now. And this program is about showing you how to turn your problems into solutions and your obstacles into opportunities and making your dreams come true. And today we are talking about using brain maps. How can we enhance our brain power? And that's QEEG and neurofeedback to guide a smoother path to longevity. We'll talk about how brain maps help us see what's currently happening in our brain and can inform a neurotherapeutic approach to improving sleep and memory and mood and more. And we'll learn the basics of how neurofeedback and other therapies can retrain our brains to help improve function and symptoms at any age or stage of life. So, my guest today is Lisa Cramer. She is a licensed clinical professional counselor and double board certified neurofeedback specialist who has dedicated her career to helping women heal, rebuild, and thrive. She began her career or her journey in the mental health field in 1999 after earning her master's in clinical psychology at Pepperdine University. Over the past 26 years, Lisa has worked with clients of all ages, supporting them through challenges in emotional dysregulation, trauma, and brain injury. She expanded her practice in 2016 to include neurofeedback, recognizing its transformative impact with complex cases and clients and individuals who felt they had tried everything. Since then, she has become a leader in integrative neurotherapy, blending the QEEG train brain mapping, advanced neurofeedback modalities, psychotherapy, and functional medicine. She's the founder and director of the Body Mind Neuro of Illinois and Mind Body Neuro of Colorado. And she leads a team of skilled providers who are dedicated to offering cutting edge brain based treatments alongside compassionate, individualized care for all ages. Long bio, but very well worth it. And I'm so glad I read the whole thing, Lisa.
Well, thank you
You're
so
doing
much for having me.
Yeah, you're doing really important work. And it's groundbreaking work from what I'm reading. Talk a little bit about what this is all about, particularly the QEEG, and how it often works for people who've tried everything else.
Sure. Well, so neurotherapy is a pretty broad umbrella. QEEG stands for quantitative electroencephalogram. It's a mouthful, but that means a recording and the findings of your brain activity. So it is a assessment that is non-invasive and it just records your specific brain activity, the electrical firing of your neurons. And we do that with a cap on your head that has about 20 or more holes in it. And we squirt electroconductive gel into those holes. So your hair gets a bit messed up. But that cap is wired to an amplifier, which is just like when you think of a guitar amp, an amplifier makes things bigger, louder, and more easy to hear. So it allows the software to record your teeny tiny brainwaves. And so that is about, takes just under an hour, but 10 minutes of eyes
Mm,
open, sitting as still as you can, and then 10 minutes of eyes closed, also sitting as still
mm,
as you are able. And we take that data that the software records and we clean it up. And that means we remove things that aren't brain activities, such as swallows and muscle tension, eye blink,
mm.
pulse in your head. You know, your
Interesting.
blood pulse can show up. Even yawns, things that are human, normal physiology, but not brain activity. So We are able to kind of remove those signatures from the recording data and then analyze it. And we are
Let
looking
me ask you,
for,
let me
yeah,
just ask you, are you looking at all the different parts of the brain, the different lobes of the brain, or just one or two?
no, we are looking at all of it. What we do is considered a 19-channel EEG, meaning there are 19 spots all over the head that we are measuring from and that are clinically recognized in the field of neurology all over the world as where you look for certain things and where spots on the head that are specific to your brain, but standardized in a way of how you find that. So, for example, CZ is what I call the unicorn horn spot. If you were a unicorn and you had a horn sticking straight up, it's the vertex of your head. And so, how you
Hmm,
find that exact spot is different for every skull size because everybody's head's a little different. But we are
right.
looking at many areas, lobes, all the lobes, plus some
So let me
others.
ask you, why are you doing this? Do you do this because somebody's having a problem with memory, or because their brain is hurting, or they have headaches, or or migraines? Or are you doing this as a preventive strategy, or all of the above?
Can be both, right? We most of the time people are coming in because they're struggling with something. It could be head pain because we do quite a bit of work with concussion or TBI, even years and years prior. But it also could be mental health, so sleep trouble, mood issues, memory,
Okay.
like you mentioned. Suddenly, people start to notice as they get older, it's harder to find words, or why did I come in this room?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, or further down the line, memory issues. But all of those things, preventatively, it can be used as having a baseline recording so
Mm-hmm.
for athletes who play high impact sports, lacrosse, football, soccer, hockey, all of
Hmm.
those things where there's a lot of collisions, you can do a baseline before the season. I recommend it as part of your sports physical so that you have
Interesting.
that. Then if you do get a head impact, you are able to come back and see what's the difference now and how do I get back to the function level I had.
Lisa, is this covered by insurance, or is this always kind of an extra thing that you do on your own?
Most of the time it's extra. I have just recently had a client in Illinois that had UMR insurance, which is part of United Healthcare, that they paid for about half of my fee with his policy. But that's the first time I've had that happen. So, and they
Hmm.
say they will pay for his sessions for neurofeedback, which we'll get into. But so I think it's growing. I do know the VA uses it, and Medicaid in Colorado is covering it. So there are places where it's starting to be covered.
Hmm. Now, if you do this test and you find issues, you find deficiencies, how do you treat that?
So that would be the next step, right? Neurofeedback is a method of training your brain waves to reduce symptoms. And so
Hmm.
that can be done in many different approaches of neurofeedback, but the
Is that
traditional
the brain
way,
map?
the
Is that the
brain
brain
map
map?
is the EEG, the QEEG. So the
Got
real
it.
word is quantitative electroencephalogram, but that means brain map. And that's the report of the findings after you do your recording. That's the brain map.
Got it.
You see that on social media, that word has been popping up more and more. But neurofeedback is the training. And we call it
Hmm.
training because we're shaping brainwave behavior. We're not treating with a medication or something like that, but we're training because we're reinforcing the brainwaves we want to see change and
Hmm.
ignoring the brainwaves that are causing symptoms. So it's a learning paradigm.
So
So
then, if that happens for me and I'm in a neurofeedback session, me as the patient? Are there things I have to do? Do I have to breathe? Do I have to relax? Do I have to think about certain things or count or do mindfulness activities?
Actually, no. Paying attention to the screen or the sound is the extent of your involvement. Let's say you are able to change your brain waves with your brain, not your mind. So,
Okay,
in the sense of it's not a conscious choice. So, what happens
I see.
is someone's watching a screen or listening to something, and there's a few sensors on their head, 3 to 5, let's say. If their brain's going in the direction we want, the screen stays bright, the video is smooth, and the sound is clear. And if their brain
Okay,
goes in the direction that is causing the trouble, the symptoms for them, like insomnia or memory issues, the brain will, which it will do that in the beginning, the screen will get dim or the sound will get quiet or this video
mm.
will stutter. And so without having to try, your brain will want to be engaged with what it was doing, what it was watching, what it was listening to, what it was engaged with. And so it will try a whole
And
bunch of things.
but so let's say that happens, right? And
Mhm.
it gets fuzzy or the machine lets you know something's not right. How does it correct it?
So the brain will try a whole bunch of things rapidly to get back to what it was listening to or watching. And when it
Interesting.
stumbles in the beginning upon the right frequency, which we want to be stronger or less of, whatever we're training, the screen gets bright again. And the brightness
Interesting.
is the positive reinforcement for the
Wow.
behavior in the brain we want, right? So it's
Wow.
behaviorism in a way. There's
Yeah, except
more
it's
to
not
it, but that's
conscious.
the base.
But
Right.
it's not conscious. But now eventually, if I come for sessions enough, and then now I don't have a session again, will my brain automatically retrain itself because it's been on neurofeedback for a while? Does it regulate itself?
Yes. So that's the learning paradigm piece. So once it's done it, it will start to figure it out sooner and sooner each session. And then people start to notice the subtle changes in their regular life outside of the office. And then our goal is to make those subtle changes more consistent and robust. And when we get to consistent, they hold.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's
It,
remarkable.
it's been an amazing thing to learn and to continue to learn and to add and to watch clients change.
So, what happens if somebody's watching this now and they're saying, I want to do that, but I'm wondering, is this going to be thousands of dollars? Am I going to have to take a loan out or something in order to make this happen for myself? Because I'm giving you an example now, because someone might be saying, well, my mother and my father had dementia, or my cousin had dementia, or it's in my family, and I'm really worried about it. Or my mother had migraines and I have them, but it's not covered and I don't know if I can afford it. So speak to that, Lisa.
Sure. Well, I would say for the QEEG, the brain map part, I think across our country, and this exists all over the world, there are wonderful practitioners all across the globe, but in the US, the QEEG fees run between 500 and 1500, let's say.
Okay.
Depending on the practitioner, their licensure, those types of things they charge up and down in that range. The neurofeedback runs between $60 and $200 per session. The way we do it is we offer packages that bring it down per session.
Right.
And
Right.
we do know that it takes time, right? These are people that
Right.
have tried lots of things. These are often
Right.
not new issues for them, whatever it is they're struggling with, unless it's like a head injury that's new. But
Yeah.
it's an investment in the sense of what is it costing you not to do this? It's a
Yeah.
proven
This is really interesting.
science.
And it's not,
Mhm.
yeah. And as you're saying, as I'm hearing, it's not out of sight. You're not saying, well, every time you come in, it's $1,000. Between 60 and 200 is what a regular psychotherapy session would cost. So, So it is doable. Now, if people want to know more, we have two more segments, but what is the website they would go to learn more?
Mind,
And
body, yeah,
go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
mindbodyneuro.com. That's my website.
Mindbodyneuro.com. Now, if they're not in your physical area, which, as you said, is Colorado, then this is a national organization that would have practitioners all over the country. Through this Mind Body Neuro,
Well, that's my website I have a practice in Illinois and in Colorado, but there are two certifying bodies for our board certifications that have directories. One is bcia.org. It stands for Biofeedback Certification International Alliance, but they have a directory where you can put in your zip code, how many miles you would want to look, and they will show you who is certified in your area. And the other one is iqcb.org, which is the EEG board certifying group. And they also have a directory. And I would highly recommend you go there to find someone who's done all that time mentoring, hours, study, etc., a rigorous process to be board certified.
yeah. Can you say those websites again, please? Slowly,
Yes,
the acronyms, and then we'll go to break.
sure. bcia.org is one, and the other one
And,
is iqcb.org.
and the bcia.org stands for,
Biofeedback Certification International Alliance.
and the other one,
International QEEG Certification Board.org.
and the acronym for that second one again is.
iqcb.org.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. And if people want to just write to you and ask you questions, you can write to info@mindbodyneurotherapy.com.
Correct.
All right. When we come back, we're going to talk more to Lisa about neurofeedback, how it can help us age better, what are more benefits, and more about this very fascinating science that can show us what's going on and often can help us reroute, if you will, uh, literally and figuratively. All right, you're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamericamedia.com, and my guest is Lisa Cramer, and we're talking about neurofeedback. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hi, everyone, and we are back. We are back with Lisa Cramer, who is a licensed clinical professional counselor and double board certified neurofeedback specialist who has dedicated her career to helping women heal, rebuild, and thrive. And we're talking about neurofeedback and brain mapping. So, welcome back, Lisa. Do you work with men as well as women?
Yes, absolutely. We do work with, all ages and all types. So
What's the number one reason people come to you? I mean, is it a headache? Is it anxiety? Is it worried about dementia down the road? Why do people come? What's your top reasons?
I would say the number one thing that walks in the door is anxiety of different types. That shows up as worry and physical discomfort, on edge feelings, being hypervigilant, that kind of thing. Rumination, where you can't get out of a thought loop. But anxiety can also turn into other things like obsessive compulsive disorder or addiction or other things.
Mm.
But it is by far, I would say, the thing we hear about the most, and it's all ages. It could be little 7-year-olds that are worried about the world ending or crazy things all the way up through the lifespan. So that's probably number
Yeah,
one.
that
But
is
we
so
do
awesome.
a lot of types of presentations, insomnia, a lot of
Yeah,
insomnia out there.
yes. Let's talk about aging because aging is a very big topic, and we have a larger percentage of population growing older, I think, than we've had before. And it's, I believe, the fastest growing population. So, talk about aging and what people can do, because sometimes, as you said, you get into the fret mode or the rumination mode. Like, as you said, you walk into a room and you can't remember, and you think, uh-oh, I'm going to have Alzheimer's or dementia. And that doesn't mean it. It could just be that that day. I mean, I think that's happened to all of us, right? Where you walk in a room and you go, why am I here? And then you figure it out. So, talk a little bit about that, about aging, about prevention, and kind of when to distinguish between when it could be a real problem and
Sure.
whether it's just the natural process.
Sure. Well, this tool, the EEG, which is your brain map, and the neurofeedback, which is the training, can really help smooth our travel into our later years for many reasons. The EEG tells us a lot of information about what's going on in your brain. And the sleep architecture are, what does that mean? That means the brain waves that are present or not that create your ability to fall asleep smoothly, move through the sleep stages of light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep smoothly, and you go through that cycle more than once in an evening and stay asleep, not wake at the same time every night and not or have trouble getting back to sleep after you wake. So that piece is very important for all the rest of our health, right? Our sleep is the deep sleep stages are what happens to clear out waste, flush the brain with cerebral spinal fluid. Our immune functions happen then. Growth factor gets released then. So that's really important for healing and clearing things. The REM sleep is when, yeah, go.
Yeah, I
Question?
just want to ask you this because I'll teach general courses through employee assistance programs just on general health. And we talk about sleep. And I think it's very underrated. You hear people bragging about, oh, I only need 3, 4 hours of sleep. Now, I know there are some cases where there are some people that biologically they can exist on that, but there are very few. And I also think as you get older, you need more sleep. But talk about the importance because I really think it's underrated. We talk about exercise and how important it is, and nutrition, and how important it is, and being around positive people. But we don't stress sleep enough, I don't think.
I agree 100%. You know, those people, you use the word existing on 3 or 4 hours. They're existing. They're definitely not optimized, right?
Mm,
Sleep is where you consolidate your learning and experiences and emotional, process of the day. You do that during your sleep stages. So that's that REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep is one of the stages. You you work through what you went through. So that's
yeah.
how we consolidate things. And if that's why it's often later in the night, more towards the morning, that we go more REM. That's why we wake in a dream, right?
Well,
Often.
Lisa, I was just going to ask you about dreams. Are dreams part of this? Are dreams part of that deep sleep? Are dreams part of us working things out?
They're definitely part of working things out, but they are part of your REM sleep. So, one of the questions I have for people often in our process of the clinical interview is, do you dream? Because if there's chronic pain, often they don't because they can't get comfortable and get below light
Okay,
sleep. hmm
I
Or
see.
they're in deep sleep only and don't get into REM, or vice versa. So they don't get enough deep sleep. I know
So
many
it's
people like that.
healthy. So it's healthy to dream, is what you're saying.
Yes, yes, it is.
What
There can
about those
be,
bad dreams? What about those bad dreams, Lisa, where,
yeah.
and this is a recurring dream for so many people. I've had it and I have friends who've had it where all of a
Mhm,
sudden you can't find your way. I've had that dream. I'm somewhere and I can't get back to where I was.
mhm,
I'm sure you've heard
mhm.
that dream. And I've had
Sure.
that several times, and other people have told me they've had that too.
hmm Well, there are actually, sleep disorders that have to do with very vivid dreams that you can't seem to get out of, right? They won't end. But if your deep sleep, light sleep, and REM are balanced appropriately, that goes away. You ever hear of
Right.
little ones that sleepwalk and talk and do all kinds of things, and they're not awake. But those balance of their brain waves is not where we want it to be. So that neurofeedback can help with. We can help
Yeah.
train back that sleep architecture to build that architecture back so you have the brain waves needed to
Right.
stay in sleep
Right.
and move through it.
So what you're saying is that there's different stages. There's the light sleep, right, where you
Mhm.
first fall asleep. Then the middle sleep, the REM, where you have the dreams. And then there's that very, very deep sleep. Is that correct?
It's correct, but the order is a little, you fall asleep and your deep sleep is usually earlier in the evening. So
Interesting.
people can track your sleep stages with different devices. Now, I know that some people don't want a device on them at night, but the Apple Watch, the Aura Ring, the Fitbits that break up the stages for you will show you how much you're getting of each type and when in the evening. So that can be, but the reason we wake often in dreams is because it's in the later part of your sleep night, your evening. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Or sometimes you wake up and you know you've had a dream and you don't remember it.
Yeah, I don't know if I don't know that that's good or bad. I think as long as you have some dreams, that's a signal that you are getting at least enough REMs.
Mm,
But waking exhausted,
yeah.
waking, you know, where you just can't drag your eyes open, even though you wake in a dream, you're not getting enough deep sleep. So it's a
Mhm.
balance of those types.
Yeah.
So we asked about aging, and moving into a healthy latter stage of our life. The sleep is crucial, very crucial. But the other pieces that this really can help with is keeping your processing speed fast. So you are taking in information and disseminating it to the right area of your brain that is going to do something with that information in a nice, healthy speed. So you're not behind or missing things. That's one thing neurofeedback can help with. The memory piece, remembering words, processes like how do I boil water to make pasta? You know, um, things like that. And then, keeping your emotions in check. It's not rare to hear about the older you get, the more mood disorders that show up. Worry is one thing as we move into like, worry is not anxiety. Anxiety is more than just worry, but it's a big piece of it. Depression, low mood, low motivation, no initiation, all those pieces. We experience more loss as we age. We experience more
Yeah.
disappointment,
Yeah.
changes in our world, and tough climates, politically, environmentally, all of it. So being able to handle those and have resilience, meaning able to move through those tough times and not be dragged down, that all those things are things that neurofeedback can help with.
Lisa, what about the combination of neurofeedback and psychological therapy, whether it's psychotherapy, whether, with a therapist, a counselor, a psychiatrist, whoever you need, but what about the combination of the talking and working with a practitioner with this?
Well, I think it's wonderful. I entered the field to be a therapist, a psychotherapist, and I think many people benefit from that. I think there are times where you can talk and talk and talk, and you're not going to
Right.
get anywhere. If it is a deeply brain-based
Yeah.
pattern that is
Yeah.
entrenched,
Yeah.
it's very difficult to talk your way out of that sometimes.
Yeah.
So neurofeedback can get those stuck patterns to release or build new pathways where then talk therapy can
Right.
just take off.
It
And
really
I've
helps.
seen that. I've seen that happen.
That's great. What's the difference? Because we hear a lot about biofeedback. I mean, I've heard that a lot, but biofeedback is more understanding what's going on in your body that causes stress. Is that correct?
That's a good way to put it. Biofeedback is actually the larger umbrella that neurofeedback would fall under. And
I see.
biofeedback means anytime you're able to take an unconscious or automatic process and make change to it, that's what biofeedback is. Now, traditional biofeedback has to do with, it could be heart rate, it could be temperature, being able to change your body temperature. It could be change your sweat response, pain. A lot of good, wonderful work in biofeedback to manage pain. So it's more the whole body, and it can be very specific. Neurofeedback is also called EEG biofeedback, meaning we're learning how to train the brain waves to get improvement in function.
Mhm.
It's just not quite as consciously done as biofeedback. Does that make sense?
Right, because you're not feeling it physically the way you are with biofeedback. Is that right?
Right, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, which is really fascinating. This is so fascinating. And let's talk. We're almost at break, so let's slowly go through those websites so that if people want to know more about this, they can certainly contact you. You practice in Illinois and you practice in Colorado. But for people
Correct.
listening to this all over the world, they'll need to find someone. So first, let's look at for contacting you. They may want to write you a note, which is fine, as you said, which would be Lisa at mbncolorado.com. Lisa at mbncolorado.com. But if you want to go to the website, right, the wise, which I thought I had right here, go ahead and give
I
that
know
to
it.
me. Oh,
Sure.
go ahead.
Mindbodyneuro.com.
Found it. Mindbodyneuro.com. So those are Lisa's websites. Now, if we want to go to the national organizations, explain those two again.
Sure. So, and the reason you would want to go here, you really want to find someone who's been well versed, well trained, studied, and done their work. So You have someone who's going to address your brain. You want someone who's, really doing standardized type science. So the first one is the Biofeedback Certification International Alliance, bcia.org. And the second one is the International QEEG Certification Board, iqcb.org. And they both have directories on their websites where you can find a local practitioner. You can put in your zip code and look at who's around and what type of licensure they have, et cetera.
Perfect. Thanks so much. All right, when we come back, we have another segment with Lisa, and we'll talk more about the benefits of neurofeedback and what are some things that we can do on our own. Once we have had neurofeedback, what are some of the practices that we can work on our own, like getting enough sleep, so Lisa will talk about that, is that we want to work along with the results so that we can put ourselves in those situations where we can prevent some of the things that have happened before. And that means doing some work. We have to do our own due diligence on this, as well as getting all of the information and having the neurofeedback devices help us. So you're listening to the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Show right here on voiceamerica.com. And my guest today is Lisa Cramer, who is a licensed clinical professional counselor and double board certified neurofeedback specialist. Okay. And again, you can write to her, Lisa, at mbncolorado.com, or you can go to her website, mindbodyneuro.com, or the national websites that Lisa gave you. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Hi, everyone. We are back and we are talking to Lisa Cramer, who is a licensed clinical professional counselor and double board certified neurofeedback specialist who's dedicated her career to helping people heal, build, and thrive. And we've been talking about the power of neurofeedback. We've been talking about the power of brain maps, QEEG. And welcome back, Lisa. And now I want to talk about the power of helping ourselves along with this. Because my question to you, Lisa, is if I have neurofeedback, okay, and then I go back to all my bad habits. So let's say one of the things is I don't get much sleep, or one of the things is I'm in a bad situation, so I'm always worried. If I don't change those things, how effective is that neurofeedback going to be?
There's definitely the two matching components, right? You march along with we're going to train the brain to release stuck patterns that hold us in these
Right.
behaviors and make it very, very difficult to change. But we also have to work on things on our own. We are a whole system. And so it's not just neurofeedback that will make the ultimate change for you. So, for example, sometimes we can do neurofeedback, and after we finish that, or towards the end, as you're kind of weaning off your sessions, psychotherapy, talk therapy can really, really be useful then. When before you could talk and talk and talk, and it wasn't going to help you shift anything because the brain was stuck. So, talk therapy, support groups, self-help learning, all those things, once you have more of a tuned up brain, more stable, fluid ability to be resilient, then you can really learn skills. So they do, you do have to do your own work as well. It's not just let's put a cap on your head and you're going to be fixed forever. But it does help remarkably where people have tried lots of things first and they couldn't get movement.
Right.
So,
So, what are some healthy habits you would suggest?
well, I'll say this when everyone I talk with before we start, I try to give them this is the best things, these are the best things you can do to help your progress, but they also apply to after. And you talked earlier, prioritizing sleep is important. Sleep is crucial. And when you're in your 20s and 30s, even teens, you don't care that much about sleep, but it really does set up your whole day to have your bucket full of your resources. So
Mhm.
don't start the movie at 11 or midnight if you have to get up at 6 in the morning. Don't game until 3 a.m. if you know you have to be doing things the next day and you're going to be exhausted. So
Right.
prioritizing it, have a routine, get off the screens an hour before, those kinds of things help. Healthy eating, getting the nutrients that your brain wants, healthy fats, good protein, get vitamin D in the sun if you can. If not, get a good supplement, magnesium. And I'm not a function, we work with a functional med, Dr. Michael Pierce. I am not a functional med person as far as certifications, but um, so my recommendations come from learning from him. But there are lots of good nutrients that are like the building blocks your brain needs. So those things, and then work on your relationships, in my opinion. I think we really know that happiness, longevity matters because of connection and
Mhm.
how we relate with others and who we have as support.
Yeah,
So I think
yeah,
that's a big piece.
right. I think the other part of that too, and I'm still learning this and I teach this, is when you deal with those difficult people that, you may have to keep in contact with. They may be people you work with, they may be people in your family. And then how do you deal with that? And as we know, we can't change people, we can only change ourselves. And so what I've learned is how to predict and know and anticipate their difficult behavior because they're not going to change. And if we know that, when we're around them, we can train ourselves. Like, I know they're going to make a snarky comment, or I know they're going to say something. So I'm just kind of waiting. And when they do, and it's like a training, when they do, I'm going to say nothing rather than, right? And so
Mhm.
then that diffuses it. Now, again, that's training. I mean, it's like a self-discipline where we're already aware that this could happen. So we see it ahead of time. Now, this takes time. Usually
Mhm.
takes, like for me, 3 or 4 times it happened until I went, whoa. You want to keep reacting? How can you do that? How can you protect yourself? And it's a very empowering thing, I think. But I do think that it does take time, and you have to be able to know that it's you that's got to change. Particularly if, a lot of people will say, well, just don't be around them. Okay, well, you can limit your time, but that may not be an option where you can never be
For
around them.
everyone. Hmm. I agree with that. I always try to talk about having your uh, in your pocket tools, whether
Right,
that's phrases that
right,
will diffuse a situation or help you put a boundary in place to keep yourself safe. Um, or, have your escape. How do you get out of there? Have some
right,
plan in your pocket,
right, right,
or
right.
something that
Yeah,
soothes you. Yeah.
that's very true. Right. And I also think that if you go back in your brain and you replay the situation, you kind of know the way they're going to react because you know the way they've reacted before, right? So if you want a different reaction, then you react differently, right? You don't feed in and go, well, wait a minute, because many times they want that fight, right? Maybe you just make believe you didn't hear it. Or
Mhm.
maybe you just smile and say, oh, something to think about, right? But
That's
again,
a good pocket tool right there, right?
yeah, yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
really? Well, gee, I don't know. Well, what do you think? Oh, well, I don't know, even though you do know. Right? I don't know, geez, something to so that it doesn't throw you off balance. But yeah, I think these are learning tools. But thank you. Well, what would you like to close the interview with? What would you like to leave our listeners with today, Lisa, about brain functioning, brain mapping, neurofeedback, being healthier and happier through this tool?
Yeah, I think the most important thing I want people is to know that this is out there. And it's not new. This has been used since the 50s. There's been incredible research. It can help all sorts of areas from, all sorts of mental health issues, head injury, seizure, learning disabilities, sleep, of course. But it's out there and it offers a way that can help you get off medications or or a different non-medication route if you haven't started medications. And it's growing. It's all over the world and there's wonderful, wonderful practitioners out there. And if you can't find somebody near you, you can sometimes even do it remotely. There are clinicians that do it that way. So if you have questions, reach out. I'm happy to answer questions. I think
Right.
it's a wonderful resource.
Yeah, you can do the sessions remotely, but you can't do the original brain mapping remotely.
Not very often. I think that's best done in the office. I do know someone who does that. He sends the equipment, like they send the
Oh,
equipment and they walk them through it like via Zoom at the same time,
wow.
monitoring them. Yeah,
Wow.
that's pretty pricey, but for someone who lives far and there's no one near them, it can be, an option. So,
Wow, great.
hmm
Great.
hmm
All right,
yeah,
well, let us know again. Let's do the websites again for people, right? So
sure.
again, if we want to look at your information, the website is mindbodyneuro.com, and that's Lisa Cramer's website. And if you want to write to her, it's Lisa at mbncolorado.com. And she practices both in Illinois and Colorado. And the other two websites for people who want to find information for where they live.
Sure. So bcia.org is one, and the other one is iqcb.org. And they both have directories where you can look up a provider, put in your zip code, and find someone nearby that's certified and well experienced.
So bcia.org, and the other one is Q.
IQCB.org.
All right, and very, very helpful. So bcia.org, iqcb.org. Okay. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on the program, Lisa. Really appreciate it and appreciate your wisdom and knowledge and education because, as you said, you want to help people so they don't have to keep struggling. And sometimes these things are just like people who have a lot of anxiety. It just happens. And so, how can we help to train our brain and also do the things we need to do on our own to support our health? Thank you, Lisa. I really appreciate you being on the program.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Tricia, thank you.
Thank you. I'll stay on the line for a minute. All right, folks, that wraps up this edition of the Patricia Raskin Positive Living Program. To find me and get a copy of my newsletter, which I send out every month, the beginning of the month, which was today, March 1st. And again, this show's evergreen, so you may listen to it later, but we are on March 1st, 2026. Send it out every month, and it shares all of the guests I'm having on for the month. And that would be patriciaraskin.com. But you can write to me, Patricia at patriciaraskin.com, or it's on my website. Now, if you'd like to get your positive message out and the way that you're seeing that these guests do, and you'd like to have your own podcast series, I've interviewed over 6,000 guests in my career, and I'd love to help you. So contact me, Patricia at patriciaraskin.com. Remember, stay healthy, stay happy, get the support you need, and know you can make your dreams come true. Until next time, I'm Patricia Raskin. Bye for now.